Uh-huh. Good morning. It's Tuesday, July 11th, 2023. My name is Terry Morgan. We are here to practice Wudang Dragon Sword. I thank you for your patience this morning for the folks who maybe have been looking for my live stream to be actually live. I appreciate your patience. It's been one of those mornings. I have a good thing that I have been working on, just launched a couple of different parts of. And I was working on it until late last night, and then I got up late this morning, so apologies for that. The good thing is channel15radio.com. Store is open. There's a couple of different items if you're interested, and it is intended to support the radio show, which you can listen to the promo for on channel15radio.com. That effort is something that I'm hoping to continue and expand. So there's martial arts in it, of course there is. There has to be, right? And in fact, the story is based on Xingyi, 5 elements. If you know that, it kind of changes pretty much everything for you. So just little hint. This morning we're going to pay attention to the kinds of things that we should pay attention to generally in Wudang Dragon Sword. So just as we reviewed yesterday the opening and paying attention to the internal workmanship, we're going to continue that, but with a couple of different moves. Let's get started. Yeah. Feet about shoulder width apart. Stand straight. Breathe in. Hands circle the front. Back around to both sides. Up along center line. And reach out. Bend the knees. Roll up. Reach out again. And one more. All the way up. Elbows drop down. Wrists, fingertips, hands return to your sides. Right leg front, left leg back. Set, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Sink. And come on up. On the other side, and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Sink. And come on up. Alright. Yesterday, I did talk a little bit about this idea of progress and looking back, as well as paying attention to what we're doing right now. Okay, so if I pay attention to what I was doing 3-4 months ago, I had a bit of a wobble on one leg. I did. And there were several things that I was okay with, but not, it just, I need to work on this. I did. I'm going to go up on my left leg. You're with right leg up. You're on your right with your left leg up. Circle the outside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The inside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Put it down. Other leg. Pick it up. And go to the outside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Put it down. Alright, now, I was thinking about what I did yesterday. And I was thinking about, I wobbled. I'm like, you did. You back and look. I wobbled. Why? Because I didn't set when I picked my leg up. I didn't pay attention to my balance. Today I did. A little bit, still I could do better. But that is the point. That's the point. We can always do better, right? I did better yesterday than I did 4 months ago. I did better today than I did yesterday. I knew where I made a mistake. I paid attention to it. I tried to correct it. I did. That process, looking at what you're doing, following through with the correction, that's how we get better. All right. So, with the sword, and I'm going to go back and review this just a little bit. So, left hand behind your back, sword in the right hand. Extend the arm to the front, about the same level as the middle dantian. So, you're looking for the center of your chest, right? Center. Blade is flat. So, you can side to side. It's not up and down, side to side. Extend it. Leave it there. Just leave it there. Pay attention to the tip of the sword. And we're going to circle counterclockwise from the bottom. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Stop. Clockwise from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Stop. That small circle, paying attention to the tip of the blade, helps give control of that extension, and it helps create the extension through the whole body. If you're only holding this with your arm, that small circle will wobble. It can't make full, it won't be complete. The tip of the sword won't be so much the part that moves as the hilt of the sword, because you're making the circle more with your arm than you are with the sword. Alright, that dexterity, move the sword, is what we're looking for in all of the movements. Okay? Full blade, a little bit beyond the tip, right? As we, let's go back to here. You start, change hands, come around, up. Right here, that tip of the blade. Right, this is more sliced down. This is tip of the blade. The wrist drops to bring the blade up. As we're extending, the tip is what we're paying attention to. The whole side of the blade matters. So it's not here, it's not flat, right? It's not flat. This matters. Slice matters. Slice up. But the emphasis is from about here to about here. That extension, as we pay attention to setting the heel, set the foot, right? That timing, everything goes together. I exaggerated it just now. That's more, it needs to be more internalized. But it's that sense of, here, if this comes up, this goes down, right? That split needs to happen all the way through. And like I said, I just exaggerated that. That's more correct. It's not obvious. It's not outwardly apparent. We don't want it to be. It needs to be there. It needs to be present. Right? But and I'm going to do this, don't do this. This is me trying to give you my version of externalizing what I'm doing here. Alright? And it doesn't look good. It doesn't, so don't do it. Alright? This is, don't do this, right? Lots of tension in the arms. Strong sword. Odd expression on my face too. No, don't do that. Don't do that. That is showy strength. That is externalizing something that didn't there, doesn't belong there. There may be other systems that have a similar move. I'm pretty sure it's not exactly the same. I've seen quite a lot actually, so I'm pretty sure. So as we come around, more finesse than outward strength. The inner strength right here. Sweep around, circle up. Right? Circle. That was it. That combination of direction, speed, and what you're doing internally gives us the result that we're looking at, right? So from here, as I come around, I need to sink and come up so I can come down as the blade comes up. And I had to work at this one. I'd practiced that for quite a while so that my foot's going down solid and the blade snaps up. That combination makes both movements stronger so long as we're well centered, right? If we're off balance, something's going to go awry. Right? I'm leaning this side. As I bring this up, I push myself off balance. If I'm not centered, I can't do it. Now, I have to pay attention. This is another aspect of our practice, right? So from here, I go that way, right? That has to happen, right? If I'm going to bring the blade down, slice, P, slice. It has to go up in order to come down. It's not exaggerated. Circle again, over here, this one. That's too big. That's about right. This is the direction, right? So if you're going to learn this, this is where it goes. That's closer to what we want in the form. Okay, so it's general rule of thumb. Nothing that we have in this form is exaggerated. It's precise, it's clear. There are elements that are not as apparent, not as easily visible. There are some things which are visible and can be misinterpreted. And there are some things which just don't belong. And we need to pay attention to all of that. Okay. So, where am I going? I'm here. I'm going here. Right? That turn and being able to make the turn, being ready to turn, all of every time we move, that inherent ability needs to be there. Talked about this the other day, that the idea that two-person sets, and I'm going to pay attention, well, this person's doing this, and this person's doing this. And again, nobody does that in the real world. So I pay attention to direction of force, angle of force. I pay attention to the physics. I pay attention to what I've got, what I'm doing with it, right? And the internal workmanship that goes along with the intent behind. I'm reaching out to tap someone. No, not with this. I'm not. So what am I doing? What have I got? Right? That sense of purpose, placement, or purpose and intent goes along with placement and how we carry the body, right? So I was just talking about this. I'm over here. I can't do this because I'm leaning, right? Because it's not going to happen. You can't, right? So this comes down. I have to be ready to turn. If I'm not, then that ain't going to happen. How does that placement? I'm here. This front foot has to set before I can turn on my standing foot. My standing foot has to hold through the heel in order to complete the turn. Hold through the heel, turn foot, right? That simple, okay, and that's another, it's another characteristic of the way that everything Professor Liu taught me, because this is from him, everything that he did was fundamentally simple. It got more complicated when you start bringing the energy with, right? If I turn really simple, it doesn't look like very much. That's all it is. It doesn't look like very, it's not supposed to. That's it. That's the move. Simple. It's simple. It appears more complicated. It is more complicated. That external movement, that's it. Everything else comes from the internal work. So, body placement, position, my muscles working the way that I want them to, or am I able to do the movement the way that I want to do it, the way that I learned, and the way that it should be done. So, direction, force, all of those things. It's not that's fine if you just walked into class first time. That's fine. That's not fine. It's not. All right. I'm looking at Dan up there. That was all right. That was all right. That recognition and the ability to do that turn. Speed with force, with intent, with purpose, and maintain center. Matters. I can't extend anything if I don't have it. Get the sword. That extension and the connection through makes all the difference in what someone else sees and the dexterity that you actually have. Right? That circle is hard to do. It takes a lot of work in the forearm. It takes a lot of work with the wrist. Right? What had to happen at what point in time in order for me to do that move? Right? And what happens if I'm not well placed? I'm going to lean over this side a little bit more. That's what happens. That twist goes that way, right? Or I'll get thrown off balance. I'm talking about that for just a second. This extension through the whole body, and this is lower dantian. From the bottom, circle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That connection is what we're working with. And it's both directions. So the teaching from Professor Liu is, again, it goes with all the Wudang stuff that I taught, that I'm teaching. The lower dantian can be thought of as two swimming fish, the yin fish and the yang fish. Yin and yang are always together. They never separate. There may be less yin, there may be more yang, there may be less yang, there may be more yin, but they are always together, and one has the inception of the other. This is what we see as the Tai Chi diagram. This is my logo for Wudang Research Association, that yin-yang symbol. Take that, imagine that's 3 dimensions, and it's a ball. And you can use it and connect with it to move. That wasn't my arm. Okay? That sense of what we have, what we can do with it, moves inside. So that as I'm turning, as I'm thinking about what I might do, I'm also paying attention to where I am internally in that sphere. The same as I pay attention to the outer world, right? I talked about this. This is literal, right? And I come around here, I have to make sure that I've got clearance so that I don't hit the bookcase. I don't want to take out the statues on the bookcase. I don't. So I need, right? Same exact kind of thing, except we transfer that inside. And use that in combination with, okay, it's same idea here, right? Big circle. When you use that, and again it goes the other way too, always goes the other way too, we use that in combination with the waist at the physical level, internally. Where am I? I didn't do a lot of big external movement. I could make that big external movement, but it's not. Let's start over. At the beginner level, right? We come around 1, come up 2, come around 3. Right? That's correct. It's not sufficient, but it's correct, and it's the first step. If we don't have the movement, we can't put anything behind it. Second step, improve the movement, get the flow going, that impulse that we kind of feel, yeah, okay, that's nice. Oh, I like that, right? We bring that, and we pay attention to the precision in the movement. So, where is this? At what point in the move? Where do I need to go to get to where I'm going? Right? You think about that. Pay attention to, am I centered? Do I have strength? Have I shifted my weight correctly? Right? I'm on my right foot here. Everything's solid. This is a kumbu, empty step. There's just barely something here. Right? Could be there. Could. Right? If my sword's here, I'm not going that way. Right? That sense of I'm solid here. This is placed. My weight's not forward. All on the back leg. What do I need to do to get from here to here? Turn through the hip. Turn through the waist, turn through the shoulders. The foot has to stay grounded, otherwise you can't get there. If this is shifting, You can't have any strength when you arrive at the position here. This has to be solid. As we turn, same thing, shift back into the heel, shift back, drop into the heel on this foot to come down. That change of weight and where it's placed bring the strength that looks like physical strength. Okay, it's the external system relies on physical strength and builds muscle extensively. Internal system relies on that internal intrinsic energy. It's physics, that's not me making it up. Relies on, for me, that internal intrinsic energy that we develop through practice and through that sense of looking inside, paying attention to all of the things that are moving, all of the body parts that are moving, the direction of force, the kinetic energy that we generate through the movement. Okay, so if I do this, I'm not generating too much. I'm not. Again, it's correct at the beginner level. That's what we want. The movement's correct. Everything's in the correct position. Timing's mostly correct. It's fine. To bring that kinetic energy, the energy from movement, if we're not well grounded, if we're not well placed, if we're not well connected, it will appear erratic. The movement will appear erratic and not well rooted. If we are well connected, and that's the one I'm going to do. I'm not going to do the other one this morning. I'm going to do the well rooted one. If we are well connected, then what we're doing has the intent, it has placement, it has the position, it has strength, it has more than what is available only from the physical body. It's got the kinetic energy that goes with. It's also got that internal workmanship, the breath, the chi, jing, mind, yi, chin, heart. All of that comes together to build and develop the kinetic energy that goes with the form. Okay? So, yeah, I'm checking for the fan again. Put it inside. If I never try to do that, I never try and move quickly, with force, with direction, with intent, with all of the things that I practice, I'm never going to develop either the kinetic energy to do what I just did. I just did it, right? And I'm not going to build the intrinsic energy that I want to have for all of the movements. That intrinsic energy is part of what we cultivate as muscle memory. So the more effort that I put toward doing the movement, and that's not, again, that's not physical effort, that's not over, this, the more I pay attention to all the connections, the more that I bring unity to the movement, the greater my skill. That's just the way that it works. Okay, so I want to be able to do that. I want that skill. I want to, I want to be able to do that. How do I learn? How do I, well, around and up. Right here. That was it. Outside part and the inside part both have to be developed. It's not really a one or another. In some systems, focus is all on the outside part. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. In what I teach, yeah, it's probably, I'm going to go with 60% on the inside, 40% on the outside, give or take, depending on which way we're looking at things, okay? So if we're paying attention to developing the physical skill to Alright? I want to be able to drop all the way down here. Not yet. It's not working. Used to be able to do it. I have pictures. That, and knowing that, right? Alright, what do I need to do to make that happen? Well, the setup for it is here. As I come around, as I come around, this leg has to be able to go down, right? So what am I doing what's stopping me? My hip, the strength, and the habit, the practice of going up and down. Yeah. Haven't done it in a while. It's something that is common in some places and very easy to do for younger people, not me. Right? But the point is not that I can or can't today. The point is, well, how do I do it? And what should I pay attention? What do I need? I need to pay attention to my hip. I need to pay attention to where this leg is. I'm leaning way too far forward. And no, maybe that might get me there. That just might get me there. All right? Foot placement. It matters. What happened with my feet? What did I do? Right? Here. There we go. More or less. What did I do with my feet? What had to happen? What has to happen to jump? You gotta go up. Not one of my strong suits. Okay? But even with that sense, I can still bring my full body, my intent, everything that I have, okay, and I'm never going to have a high jump. It's never going to happen, to that move. Now, being able to land lower, yeah, used to be able to do that. I'm going to try for that. The jump, again, and that is something I'm going to talk about just for a second, and then we're going to work just a little bit on this idea of that full connection and that circle through the lower Tantian for the first part of this movement. What I choose to work on matters. If I choose to work on something that I'm probably never going to be very good at, I might, because I want to get better than what I am. I'll work on my jumps. I'll work on my jumps. It's not going to get great, but it could be better. All right? I'll work on that. I'll make it better. I'm not going to really try. I'll work on it. But, all right, the low work, I can do. I'm about this close. Not this close, about this close. All right? I can do that. Some of the high work I can still do. You know, there's dynamic from the hip and from the back that gives me the ability to take my leg up quickly. Now, taking it up slowly, I got to work on that. Something I'm willing to do. That decision. What are you going to work on? What are you going to work on? This practice, this set, this movement, this principle, this, what are you going to work on? When you pay attention to that, what do I want to pay attention to? What am I going to develop? Somebody else might have, and I know people, including my teacher, Professor Leo, who had great jumps. He just hang up in the air. Straight up, hi, how you doing? Oh, you gonna come down sometime? Okay, thanks. Right? There are people who can do that. It's great. I love to watch. I can't do it. Not gonna happen unless you put me in a harness. Okay? So, I'm gonna work on the things that I can do well. And that is something that I really want to make clear. Anybody who's practicing should work on what they do well. You make the corrections, you make changes, you do all the things that I've talked about. But when you're picking and choosing, what am I going to work on now? Pick the things that you do well to give your emphasis. Develop the things you're not doing so well, but pick the things you do well to put your emphasis on, because that will carry the things that you don't do well. It really does. So if I practice, as I'm doing right now, practicing just this, right? Internally, as I was going through that, I was paying attention to staying centered. I was paying attention to the transfer of weight through my feet. And I was paying attention to the timing for the movements. Not so much force, it's just there, right? That's beginner level with the internal work added. Right? A little bit more force. A little bit more the idea that, it's a blade. Alright? Adding that. You have to have something to add it to, right? What am I going to practice? The beginner level, so I can get the movement correct. The little bit more advanced level where I'm paying attention to my weight, I'm paying attention to the direction and the timing. The little bit more advanced level where I'm adding just a little bit more of the waist, I'm adding a little bit more speed and dynamic to it. Yeah, I'm looking for the I'm looking for the fan. Or that. That. Either of those, they're reasonably close, have dynamic, have intent, they have purpose, placement. I know exactly where I'm going with the sword because I'm trying not to hit the furniture, right? I have to. Take that dynamic and remember it. As you do that, you build the intrinsic energy to be able to do it again and again and again. That pulling that kinetic energy inside, building the intrinsic energy to do the movement, is part of what we want to cultivate in practice. So that intrinsic energy is always there. Today's class, very much internal. I'm going to stop here for today. Very much this internal aspect, very much the internal workmanship, what we're paying attention to inside, and how we think about what we're doing. The opening the mind, clearing the mind, being able to pay attention to the breath, the movement, the dynamic, and how the movement functions. What am I doing in the movement? What might I be doing? What, okay, not batting something here, right? Slice to come around and slice down. What do I need to do for that? Not much. That was it. There'd be some nice sliced watermelon over here. There would. That sense of focus on the lower Tantian, move through the whole body, extend through the tip, is part of how we develop skill with this particular thing. Jian, sword. The use of a staff, the use of a short staff, short knife, dao, broadsword, all would be a little bit different. And if this was a longer blade, if this was a dajian, I'd need two hands for quite a few of these moves. And that'd be alright. I will be back tomorrow. We're still working on Wudang Dragon Sword tomorrow. Thursday and Friday, Wudang Qigong. I hope you'll join me. Thank you for being here, and thank you again for your patience.